Hello everybody and welcome to Round 3 Reviews, back with a Japanese deep dive and some more test lists for our videos upcoming Eiichi Kudo's Samurai Revolution Trilogy set, featuring all three films from that 60s decade, packed full of special features, HD presentation of all three films, coming on the 30th of March 2026. Really looking forward to getting the official box set for this, like many others that I do pick up, and got early access to all three films and to celebrate these films on the channel and to create some awareness, and I think it's very important to support these box sets if you can, whether you watch them on the Arrow Video official player, which has a 7-day free trial, whether you want to own the box set itself, definitely take a chance. And for this video, we're talking about disc 3, which is the 11th Samurai, released in 1967, which is quite surprising, being the fact that it's a late 60s film doing an old-fashioned kind of 50s, Kira Kurosawa movie, stylized kind of film. And I think this one, is a good way to end the set on, as compared to the initial two movies, where the first one is a very great entry into the kind of the decade, the characters, the political kind of shifts, very righteous, justifiable kind of bunch of people coming together to stop a crazy kind of shogun's stepbrother. You've got the Great Killing, as mentioned, which is much more of a darker, bleaker, internalized kind of power struggle, scrappier, I would say, in terms of this kind of rebels going against the kind of regime, to stopping the kind of the shogun from seizing power and to basically get justice for what's going on, but especially as well within the 11th Samurai, which takes it to another level, which is depictive of another decade. I'm not as deeply as knowledge of the kind of Japanese kind of historical history as I like to be. It's something that I think I would like to work on more and to get more insight, and I think have more appreciation. Really adds to the kind of the enjoyment and the depiction of what the director and the writer and what this story is trying to tell you. And I think it's important to some extent to have a little bit of extra knowledge, to kind of maybe do a little bit of research, to have the special features on these editions to give you that extra bit of knowledge. And I really liked 11th Samurai, which I think is a good closing kind of movie to this trilogy. It is the shortest of 1 hour and 40, I believe, which I think is very appropriate. Sometimes these films can get a little bit too lengthy, being the fact that it is a very kind of similar kind of storylines that have been depicted. And this one, I think, is the most even simplest and more easily digestible compared to the initial two. And you've got the martial law, the shogun age, as mentioned in the first two movies, and you've got essentially a cover-up. You've got a lord which is entering into a domain, a land which is not theirs, killed a peasant very harshly with an arrow, and then killed their lord by shooting an arrow into his eye, and then causing basically eruption within these kind of different kind of divisions, these different clans, and instead of kind of taking that offer, he basically shoots him in the face with an arrow. And then is the shogun's kind of high council basically saying, yeah, we've got a situation here, we've got a complaint, this is an unfitting kind of act for the ranking of the shogun's kind of brother, I believe, which is, I think, is the former shogun's son, which is related to the brother. It kind of gets a little bit confusing at times. And essentially murdering without impunity is a no-no. You can't do that. And instead of acknowledging this complaint and potentially erupting power struggles that was going to happen if this goes ahead, decide to do a massive cover-up and accuse them of basically hurting our lord and your lord being killed in an accidental kind of way, which even the guy says, like, well, can I ask one question? How the hell did you get an arrow in his bloody eye? You can't deny that fact. And essentially, instead of dealing with it, they blame all the fault on them, and basically saying, you've got a month, we're going to disband your kind of clan, take back the land, and you're going to be basically liquidated into the shogun's kind of reign, essentially. And jumping from that, essentially, you've got 11 men, including a woman at one point or another, and different kind of, characters coming in and out of this kind of initial 11 samurai, very similar to 13 Assassins, form a plan to take out this lord once and for all. And they have a series of opportunities. Again, there's some internal kind of struggles. You understand who these characters are, and leading to some very interesting kind of set pieces in terms of kind of some of the action moments. And I like the fact there is some sense of restraint at places at times, in terms of them about to set up an ambush in the forest. This gets kind of stopped in a plan, a strategy, set up, ready to go. Let's take them out. It is on the fly a little bit. They have an initial plan, they have an ambush ready to go, they have these kind of bamboo cannons, and they have all sorts of kind of booby traps ready to go, and that all goes out the window because of a falsehood that happens in the film. And then basically it's kind of bringing the war to them, bringing the fight to them, which most of them do get killed. And it's just explosions, there's fire, there's kind of one-to-one kind of battles, and all leading up to try and take out this lord who has started this kind of civil war between these two different clans, and this cover-up, even similar to how this film ends, similar to the other two films. The shogun, the lord they killed, dies of an illness. They won't even admit it. They won't even admit the fact of what's happened. This idea of a internal struggle, a battle, nowhere near as dark compared to The Great Killing, but nowhere near as satisfying in terms of the characters and the reward by watching this kind of all pay off by the end compared to 13 Assassins. So it's a film that's kind of in the middle of the two. I do think all three films are quite different in terms of what they offer, even though it's all set within roughly the same kind of decade and has very similar kind of ideas and familiar kind of story beats, but just presented and told and crafted in three individual different ways, in terms of the locations, in terms of the artistic nature, the signature nature of the the lighting and the action, choreography, the characters being explored, the politics being at play, and just a very insightful, very kind of rewarding kind of trilogy. In terms of the special features for the third and final disc of 11 Samurai, we have another audio commentary from David West, staff of Samurai at this point, just giving his wonderful insights into kind of the Toei company and the actors and the director, and just talking about the film in greater depth, and just again adding more context, adding more insight into the film from the expert himself. You get a brand new extra, which is one of my favorite probably from the trilogy set, talking about the kind of the decade itself, talking about all three films, the directors of all three films, similarities in terms of the storylines and the characters and the decade as well, adding context to the bigger picture of what's happening during the time. A great 20-minute extra, which I think is my favorite from the entire collection. And lastly, you have some archival special features called The Art of Realism and the Samurai Gorilla Part 3, which is the final part of that. Both extras dive into the director himself, having some actual people that are involved in these films during the time, giving their kind of experience and what samurai films were meant during that kind of 60s kind of era in terms of Toei and what the reception was. And I think it's a very interesting kind of, again, archival deep dive extra insights into these films and giving further context. And definitely recommend checking out the Fighting the Poison, which I think is my favorite of all three special features on this trilogy set. Love to know your thoughts and opinions. Please comment down below. So in time, guys, down for reviews. Signing out.